The winning blueprint presents.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Luke. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday, and that means there's playoff football on the horizon, as it is divisional weekend in the National Football League. And so we have 4 games to get to. I'll go over who I think the winners will be in those 4 games, and I'll get into in-depth analysis on those football games coming up here shortly. A little bit of business to attend to, however. Some more news occurred since I last left you yesterday. The Browns have found their head coach after being spurned by college coaches Bill O'Brien and really being as close as you can get to having a head coach without having a head coach with Chip Kelly. They have found their man in offensive coordinator Rob Chudzinski, the coordinator from the Carolina Panthers. I think I like the hire. I really felt like whoever they brought in to Cleveland needed to be an offensive-minded coach because I want to see what this Browns offense can be if it is maximized with a great offensive mind. And I think Rob Chudzinski is absolutely that. I like what he did with Cam Newton out in Carolina, really changing around the playbook and things that the Panthers were doing. But the only thing that I have a gripe with Chudzinski is if he had anything to do with D'Angelo Williams not playing more in Carolina this season, then I have a gripe with him because I felt like that was their best back and he didn't get the football enough until later in the season. And as you see the damage that D'Angelo Williams started to do toward the tail end of the season, you wonder why wasn't he in more towards the beginning part of the season. And so that's my only gripe with Chudzinski. Other than that, I think it's a marvelous hire. I think that Chudzinski will come in, and I want to see him work closely with Brandon Weeden. I want to see, and I'm also hearing reports that Norv Turner might be in as the offensive coordinator in Cleveland. If they get those two together, Chudzinski and Norv Turner working in on Brandon Weeden will have the potential to be one of the best young quarterbacks in the National Football League. Because I love what Norv Turner is able to do with quarterbacks. He takes mediocre quarterbacks and shines them up and makes them look like a more than serviceable quarterback in the National Football League. And I'm not saying that's what Brandon Weeden is. I think Brandon Weeden has immense talent. He just needs someone to pull it out of him to help him see the things that he can't see right now. And I think that's exactly what Norv Turner will do and Chudzinski will do if those two can get in. Even if it's just Chudzinski, I think that'll help Brandon Weeden tremendously. But if it's Norv Turner and Chudzinski, trust me, Brandon Weeden is going to be in great hands because I've said it time and time again. This Browns team has a lot of young talent. I love what they're doing offensively. They have so much talent. They are oozing with talent on the offensive side of the ball. Greg Little, Josh Gordon. You look at the tight end positions, and you're talking about Jordan Cameron. You're talking about Benjamin Watson. You're talking about back at the running back position. I like Montario Hardesty. You know they drafted Trent Richardson. So there's talent. There's Travis Benjamin at receiver. There's Josh Cooper at receiver. I don't need to go on. Their offensive line might be the best in the league as far as young talent is concerned. And so this Browns potential offensively is limitless. They just need someone to steer them in the right direction. And I think they might have found their man in Rob Chudzinski. And if they have Norv Turner on board, look out AFC North, because the Cleveland Browns will no longer be the doormats in that division if things go the way that I think they will go, if North Turner is in fact in play at coordinator for this Cleveland Browns offense. So that happened. So now the Browns are off that list of teams that fired their coaches on Black Monday and had vacancies. They now have filled their head coaching position, and so the Browns now can start to look toward the future and see what they need to do to address some of the needs in the offseason. I love the talent on this team, and I think this was another huge step in the process of bringing the Cleveland Browns back to a prominent team in the National Football League. Now let's see what happens. It's one thing to hire a coach. Now he has to go out and produce, and we'll see what Rob Chudzinski will do and what the rest of that staff will look like, how it will round out. Let's hope they can get North Turner. I would love to see North Turner in Cleveland working with Brandon Weeden. You saw what North Turner was able to do for Alex Smith when Alex Smith was starting to look like a bust. North Turner came in there, gave him some confidence, had him playing his best football of his career up until that point, and Harbaugh came in, finished what North Turner started, and look what you have in Alex Smith now. You have a finished product, a guy that is never going to be a great NFL quarterback, but he is more than serviceable in this league, and I think Brandon Weeden can exceed what Alex Smith has been to this point in his career if he gets the right tutelage, and definitely North Turner and Rob Chudzinski will be just that. A couple more issues I want to get to, and then we're going to jump into the action on Saturday and Sunday in the postseason this weekend. But Jimmy Johnson jumped the gun with his report of Mark Trestman to the Bears. In this day and age of social media and everyone wanting to report things first, you have to watch out for guys who have erroneous reports, because everyone has their sources. You know, everyone has their ear to the street listening as to what is going to happen. And so you might get a tip from someone and you might feel like that's a credible source. They've told you things in the past that have come to fruition, and so you feel like you've got a guy you can trust, and you feel like that's exactly what's going to happen because they said it's going to happen and they haven't steered you wrong before. But you have to be careful with these things because you just never know. And Jimmy started running his mouth about how Mark Trestman was the guy in Chicago, and it all seemed like it was too good to be true. He was in Chicago at the time. The Bears had interviewed him. It looked like maybe Jimmy had some intel that no one else had. Turns out, though, the Bears are still interviewing candidates. And so maybe Trestman will end up being the Bears head coach. Who knows? But as of right now, Jimmy Johnson absolutely jumped the gun on this one. And so you have to be careful. Luckily enough for Jimmy, no one cares because Jimmy Johnson isn't one of these ESPN, Fox Sports guys who are trying to get a story first. He's no Jay Glazer, no John Clayton, no Chris Mortensen, no Adam Schefter, where it matters if your report is erroneous or not. Because your sources need to have facts, and you need to be giving the public facts. If you start to become someone that is less credible, then your stock and your value to your particular network diminishes. So Jimmy Johnson, whether he gives out false reports or not, no one cares because his job is to be one of the talking heads on the Fox Sports pregame and postgame show. And so really no one cares if he's wrong or not. But this is a lesson to all of you out there who feel like you can post whatever you want out there on social media and you feel like you've got credible sources and you think you're right. Make sure you check your sources not once, not twice, but 3 times before you go and put something on, because this is the day and age that you put something on the web and it's going to spread like wildfire. And before you know it, you might have told one person, 100 people know, 1,000, then 1,000,000 people know, and all of a sudden, everyone's pointing the finger at you. But again, it's not a big deal because at the end of the day, who cares? But it was just funny to see this occur and to see everything kind of set in motion after he made that statement on one of those social media sites, and then to turn around and see that it's probably false and then have everyone reporting that Jimmy Johnson was wrong and have him, you know, getting media attention that he probably doesn't really want. But anytime you put something like this on the web, you have to know that if it's not true, the backlash will be coming. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It is what it is at the end of the day. So you look at something else I want to touch on quickly, and then we're going to go ahead and get into the Sunday and Saturday matchups in the playoffs. The Cowboys are talking to defensive coordinator Monte Kiffin. He could potentially be the new defensive coordinator in Dallas. I'm hearing that there's a deal in place, in principle, essentially, and they just really need to iron out a few details. But looks like Monte Kiffin could be back in the fold in the National Football League. And in all places, Dallas, it seems a little odd. The Cowboys have personnel for a 3-4 defense. And they've been playing a 3-4 defense for as long as I can remember. I mean, ever since Bill Parcells came in and installed that 3-4 defense, we're talking about almost a decade ago, they've been running the 3-4 defense. Bill Parcells, Wade Phillips, and now Jason Garrett with Rob Ryan, they've been running the 3-4 defense in Dallas for a while now. And if you get Monte Kiffin, you're going to the 4-3 and you're going to be playing cover 2 defense. And so that would be an interesting change because the Cowboys went and spent all that money on a cornerback last year in Morris Claiborne in the draft from LSU in the first-round pick. And then they went and spent money on Brandon Carr from Kansas City in free agency just to play cover 2. If that's the case, they could have went out and got a couple of solid corners and just played cover 2. Instead, now they got some really good man-to-man cover guys, but they might be in zone coverage a lot, though. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I tell you what, if Monte Kiffin is your man, you're going to play some solid bang-up D in Dallas because Monte Kiffin can coach up some defense. And you know what you're getting for the most part. You're going to get some serious cover 2 action in Dallas if Monte Kiffin is, in fact, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. So that is very interesting to me because, again, I'm an NFC East guy. I'm a Redskins fan. And so anything that goes on in the NFC East, I'm all ears. And to hear that Monte Kiffin might be not only back in the National Football League, not only back in the NFC, but he might be in the NFC East as the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. That would be a fascinating storyline because I don't know if the Cowboys necessarily have the pieces for a 4-3 defense. And look, at the end of the day, if you got a 3-4 defense, you can play a 4-3 defense. I mean, guys can convert, but is DeMarcus Ware as lethal with his hand in the ground as he is standing up? Anthony Spencer, he played with his hand in the ground at Purdue. So that wouldn't be that much of a change for him, but guys have made the adjustment. They've went to standing up and dropping into coverage. Now you're going to tell them to put their hand in the ground exclusively. That's a big change. I don't know. We'll see. We will see what that holds. Nothing is for certain right now. The deal is in principle. It's not been signed. There's no confirmation on that. So we'll stay tuned on that. That's something to stay tuned for in Dallas. Ah, yes. Playoffs. I'm excited. My team has been eliminated, so it's a little bit of a damper, but it doesn't matter. It's football. It's playoff time, and I love it. And so we're in the divisional round now. Everyone's in the game. No one's on the sideline looking on from afar. Everyone's in the game now. No more bye weeks. No more teams off, waiting in the wings. Everyone's in the game now. We're down to our final 8 teams in the National Football League 2012 season. And so there's some interesting matchups this week. Some really interesting matchups that could come down to the wire where it's a toss-up. There's a few games here, or a couple I should say, that I feel pretty confident about my pick. I really can't be swayed in my projection for that game. I just feel like that game has been decided already. But for the other two, I feel like it's a toss-up. I feel like either team could win the game. And so let's get into the Saturday games first, and then we'll move on to Sunday. And so we start with the first game at 4:30 on Saturday on CBS, which sees the Denver Broncos hosting the Baltimore Ravens. And to me, this one has already been decided. The Broncos are the hottest team in the AFC right now. And they're at home. And that's the one thing, if you are an AFC team, you didn't want to see happen. You didn't want to see this Denver Broncos team get home field throughout because they're already a good team. They're already riding an 11-game winning streak, and now you give them home field throughout. So they don't have to leave Mile High Stadium. They don't have to leave their friendly confines of Sports Authority Field at Mile High Stadium. They don't have to leave. And so you're in trouble if you're in the AFC now. Because your one saving grace was, hey, maybe the Broncos have to come to us. Maybe the Broncos will lay an egg on the road. That was your one saving grace. Now, me saying this doesn't mean I think that the Broncos are going straight to the Super Bowl. They don't have that one-way ticket straight to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is they're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens aren't a good enough team to go into Denver and win this football game. Anything's possible. Anything can happen. You know, everyone's riding that Ray Lewis, you know, wave of emotion right now. But that does not matter in this game. And I hate to see Ray go out as much as the next man. I love me some Ray Lewis. I think that he's one of those players that makes it hard for you not to have passion about the game of football. You look at Ray Lewis and you look around the league at other guys and you say, if Ray Lewis is doing that, if he's giving maximum effort, how can you not give it? Especially if you're on that Ravens team. If Ray Lewis is going out there and giving it his all and laying it all on the line and giving it everything he's got, and he's got all that passion, how can you not have all that passion? How can you not lay it on the line? And he's 36, 37 years old. So, like I said, I hate to see Ray go as much as the next man, but this is where his ride stops. He said this was his last ride. This was it. Well, his ride stops here. They're getting off of the playoff bus right here in Denver. And so the Broncos, to me, they're dangerous for many different reasons. One, we all know Peyton Manning is cerebral. The guy is a machine when it comes to playing the quarterback position. He takes a season off. You're not sure if the neck is ever going to be the same. You're not sure if the arm strength is ever going to be the same. And he just comes back, and it's like he never missed a beat. He's shredding defenses. He's picking them apart mentally, as he always does. And he's still getting it done with his arm. You say what you want, but those passes get there. And if you ask me, he's dealing with a group of receivers that might be some of the most dangerous he's ever had in his career. Because in Indianapolis, he had some guys that were ballers. Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, they were always ballers. You always throw in Dallas Clark as well. But he never had a physical specimen like Demaryius Thomas. He never had two big receivers out wide like Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker. He's got his buddy, Brandon Stokely, in the slot. He's still throwing to a reliable tight end in Jacob Tamme. And so Peyton Manning has everything he needs at his disposal. That makes for a dangerous Peyton Manning. Not to mention, the Broncos are probably going to get the services of Willis McGahee back. He can't fumble the football. But if he comes back and you sprinkle in a little bit of what Noshawn Moreno has been able to do over the stretch that Willis McGahee has missed, and then they have a little quiet scat back named Hillman that if you're not paying attention to, he'll get out of the backfield, catch a few passes, run a few plays, and he'll sneak up on you with his quickness because those other two backs, Moreno and Willis, they're not the fleetest of foot. So then when you slide in Hillman, all of a sudden he looks like a 4.3 40 guy and he's running by you. And so this offense is clicking on all cylinders right now. And I just don't see the Ravens defensively being able to really slow this Denver Broncos machine down. Defensively, the Broncos, they're getting after the quarterback. Elvis Dumervil and Von Miller right now is as hot as it gets. Von Miller is lighting it up. And he has a first step that is shades of Derek Thomas. His get-off is so lethal that hard for left tackles to get out of their stance before he's one step by him already. He gets off the ball so quick. He's very powerful. And He's sneaky strong. Again, he's one of those guys that's built kind of wiry, so he doesn't look like he's very intimidating from a power standpoint. But just when you're thinking about that speed rush, he gets up under your pads, he jacks you up, and next thing you know, you're on skates and you're running or bumping into your quarterback, and he's getting to the quarterback and bringing him down. And I love Von Miller because he's one of these guys that gets to the quarterback with evil intentions. Not of just hitting the quarterback. He wants the football. And I love guys who want the football. You can hit the quarterback as hard as you want, but if the ball doesn't come out, it's nice that he just lost 7 yards. It's nice that you just produced a 7-yard loss on the play. But I want the football. Get the ball. You can hit him as hard as you want, but if the ball doesn't come out, I'm not as happy as I could be. You can not touch the quarterback and just take the ball out of his hands. I'd be fine with that. I'd much rather you do that than get a jaw-dropping hit and no ball. I want the ball. And Von Miller understands that. He wants the ball too. And so, this Broncos defense, I love Tony Carter out there at cornerback. Champ Bailey is still doing his thing. Raheem Morris out there playing a solid safety position. I like what the Broncos are doing on defense. I really, really do. And so, you got to watch out for these Broncos. Meanwhile, the Ravens, to me, they're doing just enough to win. They did just enough to beat Indianapolis a week ago. They did just enough to get into the postseason. I think that the Baltimore Ravens are a solid team, but I don't think they're good enough to go into Mile High and beat these Broncos. Ray Rice had 2 fumbles last week. That's not who Ray Rice is. He's not a fumbler. So I'm not going to say, hey, Ray Rice might put it on the carpet. That's not who Ray Rice is. He's not a fumbler. If you're the Ravens, you need a steady performance from Joe Flacco. Can't be up and down. It needs to be steady. He needs to be Joe Cool. You need a good performance like you got out of Anquan Bolden a week ago. You need Torrey Smith to explode. You need guys to step up. You need more production out of the tight end position. Dennis Pitta, Ed Dixon, those guys need to step up. Ray Rice has to be dangerous. I thought Bernard Pierce had maybe his best game of the season last week against the Colts. So if that's any indication of what they're going to get out of Bernard Pierce, you have to be very, very encouraged if you're the Baltimore Ravens. Just don't know if it's going to be enough to beat this Denver Broncos team, however. I'm not convinced. I think the Broncos are the best team in the AFC right now. They're the most dangerous team, for sure, in the AFC right now. And I'd be very surprised if this outcome is anything but Denver Broncos moving on to the AFC Championship game. Broncos, 27. Ravens, 19. Broncos get it done and move on to the AFC Championship game. So here's the first of the 2 toss-ups that I talked about. The San Francisco 49ers will be hosting the Green Bay Packers. This is a rematch of a Week 1 affair between these 2 teams. Green Bay was at home in that matchup. San Francisco went into Green Bay, took care of business, came out with a W. These are 2 totally different teams now, though. That Week 1 San Francisco 49ers team was led by Alex Smith. This Divisional Round San Francisco 49ers football team is led by Colin Kaepernick. So, totally different team. The Green Bay Packers, then in Week 1, were struggling. They started the season off 2-3. And so, this is a different Green Bay Packers team who has won about 10 out of their last 11 or 12 games. And so, we're talking about 2 different teams now. The Packers are playing solid football. They're starting to get healthy at the right time. This offense is starting to click. You're not sure if they've found that groove quite yet, but they're starting to get back into the flow of things, are the Packers, offensively. Defensively, they found their groove a little bit last week. Again, it was Joe Webb and the Minnesota Vikings. Hard for you to get overly excited about what you saw if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, but you did what you had to do. You took care of business, and that's always priority number 1. Take care of business. I don't care who's in the game, who's doing what. Take care of business. Do what you have to do to get a W, and that's what the defense did. Charles Woodson is back. Clay Matthews is playing solid football. This defense starting to look a lot like the defense in 2010 that won the Super Bowl. And so the Packers right now are getting back to playing some fundamental football, and it bodes well for them going into San Francisco against a team that many thought could be a Super Bowl participant this season. They made a change at the quarterback position, and it kind of tossed everything up into the air. Now, you're not quite sure about this San Francisco 49ers team. I've said this all along. The move that they made at the quarterback position and the change that they made was for the best for the future. As far as this season is concerned, though, I'm not sure if that was the right move to help them win this year. And so we're going to see. I'm anxious to see what Colin Kaepernick does in his first ever career playoff start. I'm anxious to see what he's going to do because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. No pressure on the Packers, really, because they're on the road. I don't know if everyone expects them to win or not, but they're not the home team here. The 49ers are. And the 49ers have been up and down of late. I wasn't impressed with that Week 17 victory over Arizona. Thought that was a struggle for them against a team that I thought they should have really beat the brakes off of. Instead, they struggled, only separating from them later in the fourth quarter. And so, wasn't impressed there. They were throttled in Seattle the week previous. And so, you don't really know what to make of this San Francisco 49ers team right now. This is the same 49ers team that had a tie and a loss to the St. Louis Rams. And so, they can be had at any time, at any place. And so, I think the Packers can go into San Francisco and get a win, but I just don't know. I'm on the fence. This is one of those toss-up games that I mentioned. And so, I'm leaning towards Green Bay. I keep swaying towards San Francisco. I really don't know what I want to do. At the end of the day, I go with the quarterback. Quarterbacks make a difference in this league. And although the San Francisco 49ers are really good on defense, Aaron Rodgers is really good at the quarterback position. And I just think that the Packers are playing well enough and they have the momentum. They played last week. They won last week. The 49ers were off. I just feel like Green Bay is going to go into San Francisco, exact a measure of revenge from week one and get the win. I just feel like Green Bay right now is the better team. Charles Woodson is back. Clay Matthews is back. They're going to put some pressure on that defense with the type of offense that they run in San Francisco. But is Colin Kaepernick going to stay away from turnovers? Is he going to play flawless football? We've seen what this offense for the 49ers can be when they don't turn it over and they're clicking. We saw what they did to the Chicago Bears. They annihilated the Bears on Monday Night Football. We've seen what they can do. They really took it to the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football before relinquishing that lead and ultimately winning that football game. They've shown what they can do when they get it revved up. But this is the playoffs. This is a solid Green Bay Packers team. And I just want to see. You have to prove it to me. The Packers have proven to me that they can go and win in the playoffs. The 49ers, this version of the 49ers hasn't proven anything to me. And so I need to see it firsthand with my own eyes that you can get it done. And so I'm picking the Packers. Packers 27, 49ers 20. It's going to be a good football game. I just see the Packers finding a way to eke it out at the end. All right, here we go. Come on, Atlanta. Come on. Here we go again. We remember 2 years ago, Atlanta had the #1 seed in the NFC, and they were absolutely steamrolled by a hot #6 seed called the Green Bay Packers. This looks eerily similar. The Atlanta Falcons are your #1 seed. They're coming off of a bye, and they're coming up against a hot #5 seed. This time, they're named the Seattle Seahawks. What are you going to do, Atlanta? Matt Ryan is 0-3 in the postseason. I need to see something from you. This is what you've been working toward all season long. Everyone said to the Falcons, hey, this is nice, this is cute, but what I really want to see from you is what you do in the postseason. You can win all the regular season games you want. Until you get it done in the postseason, you're still the same Atlanta Falcons. Here's your chance. You got a good Seattle Seahawks team in front of you. They're playing some hot football. They have a young quarterback that's getting it done. What are you going to do, Atlanta? You had a week off. You had 2 weeks to prepare. You've had a week to lick your wounds, nurse some of those injuries. What are you going to do, Atlanta? This is about the Atlanta Falcons. This isn't about the Seattle Seahawks. If the Seahawks win, it'll be a great win for them, a great story. But this is more about the Atlanta Falcons. They're the #1 seed. They've been the #1 seed all year long in the NFC. They're the team that a lot of people said, hey, they're not good enough. They're not this. They're not that. Now it's playoff time. Time for them to put up or shut up. And now it's time for them to have an opportunity to actually shut a lot of people up. Because everyone this season has been saying, yeah, the Atlanta Falcons are good, but time for them to dispel all those notions and put to sleep that but. Time for them to go out and get it done when it matters the most in the postseason. And this is another toss-up game because I don't trust the Falcons yet. They haven't earned my trust. But I'm still not sold on the Seattle Seahawks as a good road team. Wasn't impressed with them last week against the Washington Redskins on the road. Honestly, if not for an injury to Robert Griffin III, and I'm not one to make excuses, but if not for that injury, you saw the difference. The first two possessions, the Redskins moved the football up and down the field. There weren't adjustments made by the Seahawks. There was just an injury to Robert Griffin. There was just a significant injury or re-injury to Robert Griffin III, and he wasn't the same. And so the Seahawks smelled blood in the water. I will give them credit, though. On the road, down 14 early on in the game, they could have wilted. They could have folded, but they didn't. They persevered. They came back. They scored 24 unanswered, and they won the football game. So I give the Seahawks all the credit in the world, but if they come out flat like that again against this Atlanta Falcons team, the outcome won't be the same. They won't score 24 unanswered points and win the game. If they fall behind 14-0 in this game, it'll be a rout because the Falcons, they're good enough defensively to shut you down. Ask the Giants. They're good enough to play some sound football and really force turnovers, get into your head, and win the football game. And offensively, you know what they can do. If Julio Jones and Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez get it going, you sprinkle in a little bit of Jacquizz Rodgers, you could be in for a long day. So they can't afford to start the game with a lackluster effort like they did a week ago in Washington and think they're going to win. I don't expect them to do that, though. They were overwhelmed by a team that runs a similar offense to them last week. This week, it's more conventional. They can really just play the game of football the way they are used to playing. They don't have to worry about, is the quarterback getting the ball? Is the running back getting the ball? They're not facing a number one rush offense. They're playing against a team that is primarily pass dominated. And so that's right into their strengths. The Seahawks love to be physical with receivers, love to disrupt their timing of their routes, and get after the quarterback. And they'll have ample opportunities to do that in this game. But I'm not sold on the Seahawks as a great road team. And so I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the Atlanta Falcons. I am giving you the benefit. Now don't make me look like a fool here, Atlanta, because you haven't won a playoff game under Mike Smith. You haven't won a playoff game with Matt Ryan at the quarterback position. And so I could easily turn my back on you right now. But you've earned the number one spot in the NFC with your play all season long. I was not impressed how you tippy-toed your way in with that loss to Tampa Bay with you playing all of your starters. But I'm dismissing that. I'm looking at what you were able to do, your full body of work throughout the course of the season. You deserve respect. I'm going to give it to you. Now, I'm not giving you anything. Let me rephrase that. You've earned my respect, and now here's a chance for you to earn more of it by winning a playoff game. Falcons 30. That's right, Falcons 30 against this 15.3 point a game Seattle Seahawks defense. Falcons 30, Seahawks 20. So last but not least, your 4:30 matchup on Sunday afternoon sees the Houston Texans traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. The Texans messed themselves up and messed this game up when they decided to lose on the last week of the season to the Indianapolis Colts and relinquish the number one seed overall in the playoffs and give the Patriots and the Broncos a chance to play at home if they had to play the Houston Texans in the postseason. So in the event that these teams had to match up and the Texans had to travel to one of them, they were going to lose. So I feel like there's a no-brainer sandwich here. The first game of the week, I feel is a no-brainer. The Denver Broncos are going to win. I feel like the last game of the weekend is a no-brainer. The Patriots are going to win. And in between are the two tough matchups, the ones that could go either way. So it's a no-brainer sandwich. And I'm taking a huge bite because the New England Patriots, they have already shown me what they're going to do to the Houston Texans. Now, I know no two games are alike. No two games are the same. And just because they beat them up and really embarrassed them a month ago on Monday Night Football doesn't mean anything. The Texans could have made adjustments. They could have seen what they'd done wrong in that first game and come out and really give the Patriots all they want and then some. But I don't see it happening. I wasn't impressed with their victory last week against Cincinnati. I still think this is a very fragile team psyche-wise. Arian Foster is hammering that point home by being sensitive to the Boston Globe and their article about how the Patriots are going to win and what the Texans are. And so that's what I'm talking about right there. That's bulletin board material for them. If you need that to perform at a high level, by all means, knock yourself out. But I just think the Texans are fragile. They shouldn't be worrying about what anyone else is saying. They need to worry about what's going on in their own locker room. Take care of yourself. Take care of your business. Take care of home. And then everything else will fall into place. But they're worrying about extenuating circumstances and extenuating factors instead of worrying about what's going on inside their own locker room. And that usually leads to disaster. And I feel like the Patriots, they've been here so many times before. This isn't new to them. They're not in uncharted territory. They're at home. It's the playoffs. It's going to be cold. It's going to be Patriots in the postseason moving on. And I don't see the Patriots really worrying too much about the Houston Texans offense. I don't know if Arian Foster will be successful or not. I think he can. I don't see why this Texans run game and play action fake game can't work against this Patriots defense. They're not that good. The Patriots on defense are okay. They're solid. They're not extraordinary on defense. And so I don't see why they have to be shut down totally. I see the problem being defensively. I just see Tom Brady carving them up like he did the first time. I don't see how they can stop this Patriots offense. How they stop Gronkowski, how they stop Wes Welker, how they stop Danny Woodhead, how they stop the rushing attack of the Patriots, how they stop Brandon Lloyd. I just don't see how they stop the Patriots on offense. Because I don't think that their defense is all that intimidating. J.J. Watt is a handful. But after J.J. Watt and Jonathan Joseph, you got a few guys that stand out. Brooks Reed is a solid player. Connor Baldwin is a solid player. But the Patriots really did what they wanted to the last time these two teams met. What's the difference? What's the difference? I just feel like the Patriots are the better team. Offensively, the Patriots know what they want to do, and they're going to go out and execute. Meanwhile, you're not sure about the Texans. You know what they are offensively. Are they going to go out and execute, however? You're not sure. Defensively, the Patriots aren't all that. But I feel like the Patriots offense against the Texans defense is a bigger mismatch than the Texans offense versus the Patriots defense. And I think that's what it's all going to boil down to in this game. Patriots offense doing more than the Texans offense against the opposing defense. And so the Patriots will get the win in this football game, 31-23. And I'm not sure if it'll even really be that close. Maybe the Texans get a late touchdown in the game to make it look closer than what it really is. But I feel like the Patriots are a better team here, and they'll exert their dominance over the Texans, who really blew it this postseason. They really blew it by not getting home field throughout in the AFC playoffs, and they're going to feel the sting of that in this game as the Patriots take care of business and advance to the AFC Championship game. And didn't you know this was going to happen? Brady versus Manning in the AFC Championship game. Didn't you know that that was going to be the narrative? Didn't you know that that was going to happen? Who didn't foresee this happening? Who couldn't have foreshadowed this? It's the NFL. And normally we don't get what we want. But this time, I'm making a special exception. And I think the football gods are on my side on this one. I think that's how it will go in the AFC. All right, so that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. I'm going to tackle on this quick extra point. It's not much more for me to say here. It's the playoffs. It's the best of the best, the creme de la creme. The best 8 teams are probably left standing right now. You could argue, and you know I'm going to argue because I feel like the Redskins should be included in this discussion, but they're not there. The best 8 teams are left, and that's just the way it is. You won, so you're better, so you're there. You're where you're supposed to be. And so this is as good as it gets. And so now we're down to the final 8. And I think that really, when it's all said and done, we'll really see the best quarterbacks in the National Football League really squaring off. Some of the best we have. when it's all said and done, it'll be Brady Manning in the AFC. It'll be Rodgers, Ryan in the NFC. And really, that's as good as it gets in both conferences. You could argue that Matt Ryan isn't quite at that level yet. And he didn't have the hardware. So, of course, that's the first argument. You go straight to the hardware. He didn't have what Eli Manning has. He didn't have what Aaron Rodgers has. He didn't have what Drew Brees has. But he's starting to build a resume. And all he's missing is playoff victories and that elusive Super Bowl championship. But you can't get the ring until you get a win in the postseason. And I think Matt Ryan will get his first of many to come on Sunday. So it should be a very, very fascinating week in the National Football League. This weekend should be awesome. Great football on both days. I think that they really oversaturated Saturday with good football. I really felt like they just left Sunday to fend for itself. I really think that they gave Saturday all the attention because I feel like the two best games potentially could be on Saturday. I feel like the better games that you want to watch are on Saturday, but I feel like that first game on Sunday, Seahawks at Falcons, has the potential to be a nail-biter as well. So, all in all, I think that the teams that win this game, and I feel confident about my 4 picks, will have the better quarterbacks. And we'll see some of the best quarterbacks on display in championship weekend in the National Football League. But first, we got to take care of divisional round and see what all shakes out as these 8 teams will do battle. And I can't wait. I will be on my couch like a slob, enjoying the action and really submerging myself in NFL football. And this time of year, there's not another thing I'd rather be doing. So, that's it for this program in the lab room. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday. Got to a lot today. You know all the ways to contact the show. There's Facebook, there's YouTube, there's Twitter, there's the inbox. All of it in the lab room predicated. You type in the lab room, and you should see the little logo or emblem for the show. And you know you found me, you found it. Have at it. So I thank you for joining me. Want to see you back here, same time, same place. And as always, enjoy the football. Again, we're winding down. After this week, we'll only have 2 weekends left of football. So I tell you, like I always have all season long, enjoy this. Bask in it. Because before you know it, it's going to be gone on a 6-month hiatus. And you'll be looking for ways to fill your Sundays. And there's nothing like the National Football League. You know it. I know it. And so enjoy it while it lasts because it's almost gone. So enjoy the football. Watch it. We'll come back. We'll talk about it extensively on Monday. And as always, have a good one. See you on Monday. Can't wait.